Mary, it got very quiet in here.
You could hear a needle drop.
You think? Oh.
There it is.
Action, we're on.
Yay.
Hello, Mary.
Hi, Tina.
We're going to do color work.
Yay, Colorwork.
And it's our first ever Rockin Sock Club video.
I know it. We are rocking some socks really, really hard.
We are. We are. So what are you going to show us today?
I'm going to show you 3 key tricks or things to know when you're going to do stranded colorwork, when you're handling more than one strand of yarn. We like our string a lot. It's not. It's not. It can seem as though it's going to be, but once you do it, just like when you first learn to handle three needles at a time, or 4, or however many you might be using, you're still only ever using those same 2 needles at a time. Same with stranded colorwork. You're really only knitting with 1 strand at a time. So if you think of it that way, it's exactly the same as not.
So exciting.
I know. We're going to talk about 3 things. The first question that people ask me when they go to use more than 1 strand at a time is, but how do I hold more than 1 strand at a time? Do I have to have 1 in each hand, like the Fair Isle knitters? Do I have to be able to use my left hand? Do I have to have a left hand? Questions like these that plague us as knitters. I'm here to tell you one thing about stranded colorwork. Do it the way you like. In fact, I so far have never told a knitter how to hold the strands of yarn. What I always say is use 1 at a time for each stitch, and when you don't need that one anymore, put it down. Hold the strand how you like to hold the strand, in the hand you prefer that makes you comfortable. And once you stop worrying about how you should do it and what the rules are, your body will naturally find its own groove, and within 10 or 20 stitches before you get to the second needle, you will figure out what you like. And then you'll know you're right.
Awesome.
So then the second thing that we are going to talk about is the orientation of the strands. It only comes into play at the beginning when we make a decision about which one goes on top and which one goes on bottom. And beyond that, you can forget entirely about it, other than to remember why they need to be oriented. We'll get into that in a minute. So I have a pretty typical configuration of sock needles here. I like double point needles. If you don't like double point needles, don't be scared. You can do magic loop. You can do 2 circulars. If you're a serious maniac, you can even do 2 at a time, although I'm not going to demonstrate that here because there might be blood.
Well, at least the needles are red. We won't be able to tell.
That's right. Here I have begun a sock. This is a picot edge, and I chose this because it's similar to the first Sock of the Month Club pattern this year, and also because it won't roll on us and confuse us. So I'm working with the dark aubergine right now. Aubergine, yes. And I'm going to add my second color to begin color work, which in this case is
Pinky Swear.
Pinky Swear. So I've just tied it around the color that I was working with previously. Any old way you wish to tie it is fine. You're just going to weave that tail in later. So I am an American right-handed sloppy fast thrower. Sometimes I pick continental style, but more often I hold both strands in my right hand, and I do what I would describe as a variation on pick one up and put down the other, and pick one up and put down the other. So I'm going to demonstrate that for you right now. This is not a fancy pattern that I'm going to read line by line by following a chart like you normally would be in color work. I'm just going to make something up. Let's say checkers that are 3 by 3.
That sounds great.
I'm going to make my command decision about strand orientation based on what I feel like and the planetary alignments and the relative humidity. I am going to say that aubergine, the dark, goes below, and Pinky Swear, the multi-strand, goes above. And you'll see what I mean by above and below in a minute. But having decided that, I will now pick up the first color, which in this case is going to be aubergine, and I'm going to do 3 stitches. and then I'm going to put that strand down. Then I'm going to pick up pinky swear, and I'm going to strand it across the back. Ooh, get that again. We almost always call it floating across the back, and there's a reason we call it floating. It actually means what it says. We want to gently lay it across the back of the stitches where it was not in use. I'll show you again with A. Float across the back and work with it again. I've actually dropped the prior color now, and I'm back into the original. Float across. We could call it pulling across. We could call it yanking across. We could call it using all your force to stretch it across. We do none of these things for the simple reason that it's a mnemonic to help you remember we're not killing rattlesnakes here. Take it easy. And 3. And now, as I work, you'll notice that I am caring about the orientation of my strands. There is a fallacy that we need to constantly be twisting our strands around one another like so when we work. Not true at all, unless it is, but that's a different kind of knitting that we're not doing today. The Fair Isle knitters have a tradition of tacking their floats, which is that notion of twisting the strands along behind. It also causes your yarn balls to become an unholy mass of yarn pasta.
Craziness.
And leads to all sorts of frustration. For our purposes, we are not going to do any tacking of floats. You may find that you wish to tack a float. That would only be in the case of a great many stitches behind which you are going to make a really, really long float. So for today, we're not concerned with it, and you almost never need to do it. So as I am working, I am not tacking, meaning not twisting these floats. Pinky swear is going to be oriented along the top, and aubergines is going to orient along the bottom, and never shall the twain cross. So now I'm going to change to my other needle, and I still need to do one more aubergines over here. There it is, and now I'm going to float, pinky promise, not under. But over. I'm keeping pinky swear above. This would be pinky swear below, but I'm not doing that. The reason we care about this is when we have aligned knitted stitches, say in a column, as long as their strands remain in the same orientation, they will be straight up and down marching like the good little soldiers we want them to be. Every time we alter the orientation of those two strands, we're going to cause that to happen a little bit on the face of the work, which blurs the pretty pictures and motifs we're trying to paint by going to all this trouble of having two strands. That's the number one difference. Once this happens, you can't tell your rows from your columns and everything goes to mush.
I hate it when you can't tell your rows from your columns.
Don't you hate that?
I do.
And that's also when those balls start twisting around your leg and the coffee table and the cat and whatever else. So no twisting. Maintain this alignment.
And how beautiful is that?
I know. We love it.
I love it when my stitches align.
Yes, just like the planets.
Yes.
Let's do some more of this 3x3. I'm going to speed up. It's like nature photography. You can hit super slow-mo if you need to slow down the action. Just kidding. I'm not the world's fastest knitter. Not even a little.
That's not what I heard.